morning, officially, everybody. So this is Yoga Pilates Fusion, as you may already know, for a variety of reasons. We're going to start, as I like to start, lying down with a little bit of elevation in the chest. Now it can be just very minimal, or you can lie down on the floor without any elevation in your chest. But I'm going to do two different things. So I'm going to do a butterfly position with my legs. So I have a little bit of support to put under my knees. And then I'm going to use yoga blocks today for my upper back. I like to switch it up, try different things, pillows, blankets. But you could use a rolled up blanket down the length of your spine. We've done that before. And if this is the first time you're doing any of this, just pick something, whatever you've got handy. Blankets almost everybody has. The other props may or may not. So when you use something firm like a block, the one block goes under the shoulder blades and right under the blades. So the bottom edge of my shoulder blade is going to be just on the bottom edge of this block. And then I like the head block a little higher, but if you want your support to be lower, you can do that. And you can also use a couple of throw pillows. They're a little squishier, but they'll still give you a similar impact. Okay, and something under the knees if you need. That's what this blanket is for. So I'm going to get myself sort of positioned so that my shoulder blades are kind of in the center of my back and right on the block. And then this guy is just going to help because I'm going to do this little butterfly position with my legs today. So this can be a little spicy for me because my thigh doesn't come all the way to the ground usually. Some days it does. Not in the morning. So for that reason, this blanket is helpful. And then I just try to find the position so my head feels like it's fairly neutral, not tucking my chin, nor is it being thrust upward into the air. It's just as neutral as I can make my skull. Now this gives me an opportunity to drop the arm bone kind of back and around, and then that releases some pressure or tension from my secondary breathing muscles. I sleep on my side. This is very useful to me in the morning. If you don't sleep on your side, this may or may not be your jam, but you're welcome to do it your way. And so we just breathe nice and deep, try to get the rib cage to move so we can get those little muscles all warmed up and moving. An excellent time to just kind of clear your mind when you pay attention to the breath and to the pose and to letting the body relax. That gives your mind a lot to do. Maybe it will stop thinking in its habitual ways. If the grocery list or whatever pops in there, just remind yourself that you'll come back to it. So we're going to take 2 more breaths. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the legs. So if you joined me there, you can do that as well. And then I'm going to take myself and just roll to the side so I can slip these blocks out. Oh, now this is my favorite part because, oh, it feels nice. So my upper back, just has this kind of slight impression of the block, and as that tissue starts to kind of release, there's this feeling of sort of spreading out and expanding across my upper back. It also feels like my arm bone, instead of leaning forward slightly, kind of falls a little bit backward into the socket, which I'm a fan of. So if you like it too, then we're in business. So do little windshield wipers, and if you don't like it, the good news is we're not doing it anymore. Oh goodness, and tell me that at the end, so I'll stop doing it to you. We're gonna just windshield wiper the legs a little bit, and then eventually they're gonna wind up in a twist. So you're just gonna decide, should I go that way first? Should I go the other way first? And then pick one. And then we're gonna try to stretch the chest muscle along with this outer hip. So reaching the arm out and get the shoulder to the ground. You might need some support under the legs. That's always helpful. And then see, like as you feel the stretch through the chest, can you just turn the hips slightly more? Or are you just right at this point where everything's exactly where it should be? So there's a little stretch across the outer hip, a little stretch through the chest muscle. Ooh, just releasing some more tension from those areas as needed. Sometimes I like to turn my head into, and sometimes I like to turn my head away from the twist. So you can experiment. 2 more breaths. Come back to the center. Again, I'm going to sort of let myself release a little bit. There's this point that I'm looking for when I come out of one pose before I go to the other side, and this just feels like the body just relaxes a little bit. When I first come out of a pose, there's a little bit of muscle tension, and then there's a point where everything kind of softens again, and that's when I know it's time to do the other side. You can also just see, like, are there other little signals that you get that sort of let you know you're ready for the opposite side of the pose. So whether that's a side bend or a twist, anything that involves the spine moving in an asymmetrical direction, I find it helpful to sort of look for those little signals. All right, so I've got the outer hip and the chest stretch going here on this side. And again, you can experiment and see, like, is it better to turn toward or away from with your head? Okay, we're going to take 2 more breaths. Leveraging gravity here a little bit. And then we're going to bring it on back to the center. All right, so we're going to take the body through the this kind of twisting pattern again, but as a flow. So starting with the knees kind of balanced over the top of the pelvis. Now, depending on how much room you have, you've got some options. So we take the legs over. I'm going to try to keep both of my shoulders as steady as possible on the floor. You can just hover there and bring the knees a little closer to the armpit. You can scissor like one leg out straight and one leg curling around the bottom, or you can do both legs out straight. When you come back to the center, the knees are about over the pelvis. Then we're going to pick the pelvis up a little bit and then take it the opposite way. So again, choosing the option that works best given the circumstances of your environment. We're just going to go back and forth. Let's do 2 more sets of that. so after you've done both sets an even number of times, as you curl in, grab hold of your right leg, and then you can let your left leg stretch out and just relax on the floor. If you can't hold your leg, don't worry about it. Just bring the leg in toward your chest, and then spin your foot in the biggest possible circle a few times at least in each direction. I like to do some that are kind of faster and some that are a little slower and bigger, just to try to get some slightly different range of motion action happening with my ankle joint. And then point and flex your foot so that you're feeling, whatever space you can develop around your toes and through the center of the foot, as well as the ankle. All right, so we're going to kick that heel up. The leg may not go all the way straight, but maybe it will. Bring the knee nice and tight against your chest. Press the heel away from you. However straight it goes, pull the knee in. And then it's going to drift away as you straighten the leg. That's fine. It should. All right, so we're going to let that guy go. It's going to stay straight up. We're going to activate this left leg. So the toes are going to point up. You're going to bend the knee slightly, kind of dig the heel toward the ground. You're going to hug in through the sides of your waist, press your palms down nice and firm into the floor. And then that leg is going to come across the body and then go out in a circle. Our goal is to try to keep the hips completely steady through all this action that we're doing with the left leg and the side waist. So the right leg is trying to make that impossible, and then we're holding on nice and steady with the abs. So circling the leg twice more this direction. You get to the top, switch the direction, go out to the side, swing it to the bottom, come straight up the center. If you need to keep that leg a little higher in the air, you can. It doesn't have to meet your bottom leg. Hold steady through the side waist right there. Good, last one. All right, so then we're going to bring that knee in. We're going to bring the other leg either to a position where you can rest the foot, and then you're just going to cross the ankle, or you can lift the legs up and hold steady right there. We're going to curl, so I'm going to still want my knees pretty much over the top of the pelvis. So take hands behind your head, press your head back into your hands, nice big breath. And as you exhale, just curling up. So I'm lifting the pelvis, lifting the shoulders, coming back down. Try not to work from the neck. See if you can keep your head pressing back while you work from the core. Curl it up. So you can do this with the legs resting on the floor and just do the upper body portion, or both. Three more. All right, so we're letting the legs drift down. Release that right leg. Give everything a little stretch. And then as you soften, just notice, is there any difference between the right side and the left side of your body? It may not be that different. Usually I feel a difference. So we're gonna, but you know, it can be small. We're gonna bring that left leg in. You can let the right leg stay relaxed for now. We're gonna spin the left foot around in circles. And again, you don't have to hold on to the leg. You can just bring it close to you. Make sure you turn the foot in both directions with the circle. Kind of feeling out the range of motion. And then point and flex your foot. So again, we're going to kind of kick that heel away, see how straight that leg wants to go. As soon as you feel that in your hamstrings, you can pause. That's the spot we're looking for. Last one. All right, so now that guy is going to stay straight up. I'm going to energize this right leg, toes pointing up. A little bend in the knee, digging the heel in. I'm going to Snuggle my shoulder blades under there, press down, hug in through the sides of the waist, leg comes across the body, makes a circle. I've got to move so I don't knock my plants over. Should have done that first. Ooh. So coming across and making a big circle. So again, as soon as this leg goes out to the side right there, I'm squeezing in nice and tight through the abs. So last circle that direction. When you get to the top, we're going to go the other way. So it comes out to the side and down toward the bottom. All right. Last one. So we're going to bring that leg in, put the foot on the floor, put the ankle across if you can. Oops, sorry about that. Tiny people in my way. All right, so again, you can let this leg rest on the floor or you can lift it up. We're going to curl up and come back down. Again, pressing the head back toward the hands, curling. Maybe it's just this upper body portion. Maybe it's both. Ooh, two more. Let the leg come down, release, give yourself a little rinse. Ooh. Oh, and a stretch. Oh. And then see if you're the same on both sides. Oh. Maybe. Maybe not. All right, yogis. So we're going to flip ourselves upside down, basically. Just right onto the mat. So you might have to scoot off your mat so that when you flip upside down, you're still on your mat. We're going to put the hands pretty much right under the shoulder, just a little bit higher than the shoulder line. Press the legs into the ground, press the palms down firm. The action of the elbows is coming back, so broaden the chest, okay? So lift with your back muscles, broaden the chest, come on down. So we're not pushing with the hands because our goal is to strengthen our back while also opening the chest. But if you have other agendas, I will let you decide what to do. Press the palms down, lift, pull the collarbones wide. Okay, coming back, lift, pull the collarbones wide, and then one more time coming back a little bit more, lift, pull the collarbones nice and wide. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves to an all fours position. Oh. Take a moment and just move your back through a couple of different positions. Up and down, you can do some little side to side. We're going to take ourselves into downward dog. Now, downward dog is not your jam. You can go from this into either a standing forward bend or just standing up. So, choose appropriately for you. I like downward dog, but it's not for all of us, for sure. It's an inversion. Your head's lower than your hips. It can be a little strenuous on the arms and the wrists. So you're just choosing appropriately for yourself. Now, when you've had enough downward dog, walk yourself into a forward bend. We're going to come up halfway, and then we're going to fold again. And once you fold, you're going to bend your knees till your chest rests on your thighs. So there shouldn't be a whole lot of stretch here. There might be a little bit because we're all a little different. Lift up halfway, straighten out the legs, and then we're going to just test it out. How far can I fold my pelvis forward before I feel that stretch? Then bend the knees, let yourself come all the way over, shake out the head. And then we're going to come up. And again, we're folding just to see how far can I get, and then let it all come back. We'll roll all the way up to standing, whatever way sort of works better for you. Oh, give yourself a moment to stretch, and maybe get a little drink of water as needed. I've got to tuck my hair back. Oh. All right. Eventually we're going to join up in the mountain pose at the top of the mat. So turning the feet forward, and then notice how that impacts your hips. It might be a little odd. I stand with my toes slightly pointing outward if I'm not paying attention. So we're going to pause and shift all the weight to the right leg. And then the left leg, we're going to come back to that shape that we were doing kind of on the ground. We're going to put that ankle across the thigh. If it doesn't go across the thigh, the shin will be fine. And then you're going to try to sink back into a bit of a chair shape. The hands can be at the heart. You can reach them up like a chair. You can catch when you fall. So choose some option. Alright, so we're going to take 2 more breaths with the balance, or lack of balance as the case may be. And then we're going to pick this leg up and step back. Now we're going to take a high lunge to start with. So we're going to stay on these toes, and the front knee over the ankle or a little behind it, but not past it. So we want to kind of feel the stretch through the back leg hip, so in this case my left leg, and my right knee shouldn't feel like it's in any kind of trouble. All right, so with this balance trickiness, we're going to try to straighten out the front leg and send the heel a little closer to the ground. Then bend the front knee, and we'll just come back to this stretch in the front of the hip. So straighten, send the heel down, bend the front knee, reach back. My movement is not very big. Hopefully you can kind of see it. Straighten, press down, bend the knee. Now, we're going to fold forward, and as we do that, you might decide to put your hands on the floor. If you've got yoga blocks, those are also helpful. Because we're going to take this back leg and just bring it forward a little bit so that you can get both legs to go on the ground nice and firm. And then we'll see if we can play with that bent knee. Straight leg, press the heel down. Maybe the chest gets a little close to the thigh, maybe not. Bent knee. Straight leg, press the heel down. Okay, one more. Bend the knee. And that lets me get a little closer with my chest. Then straighten the leg, press the heel down. All right, so we're going to take this back to downward dog, or you can go directly to a plank if you want to skip the dog part. So we're lowering down. You'll choose either a cobra or an upward dog based on your preference. Push yourself back up. We're coming back to down dog, or go directly to your forward bend. So that right leg's going to come up. We're going to bring it straight down the middle, curl up around it. Shoot it back towards the right elbow if you can. Bring it back, bring it towards your left elbow. Send it all the way back, sink into the left heel if it's available. And then wherever it lands, step it forward, bring your left foot up to meet it. Come up halfway. You can fold if it feels okay to do so. And then come all the way up to standing. Give yourself a nice stretch. All right, so whatever just happened, we're going to wind up at the top of the mat in our mountain pose. So turn the toes forward. Find your place where it feels like everything's even on both sides. And then we're going to shift the weight over to the left side. Put the right ankle wherever it's supposed to go, on top of the shin or on top of the thigh. And sink a little bit into that chair shape if you can. And then we're just steady holding the balance, yogis. Or wobbling, as the case may be. like the way this makes my glute work really hard. Take in 2 more breaths. Ooh. All right, so I'm gonna pick this leg up and try to step back into my high lunge. Ooh, hopefully find a balance there. Okay, so everything's pointing forward and I'm on my toes. So, to the best of my ability, stretching the legs apart, then straightening this front leg out and sending that heel toward the ground. Got a little bit more room on the side. Okay, bending the front knee back to the lunge, lifting through this thigh. Okay, so then straightening the leg, pressing the heel down on the right, bending the left knee, pushing back through the right thigh. Okay, 2 more. Straight, send the heel down, bend the knee, press back through the front of that right thigh, right hip. 1 more time, straighten the leg out, send the heel down, and then we're gonna try to fold forward. Oh, I think that's the trickiest part. Okay, bring the foot in far enough that you got 2 feet firmly planted on the floor, mostly pointing forward with the hips. And then we're gonna bend the knee. Get ourselves nice and close to it. We'll see how straight we can make the leg and how far down we can press the back heel. Bend the knee. You may find you need to come up much higher for this point where the leg is nice and straight. We're pressing that heel back. And you can get a little closer this way. Last one. Press down. With your heel. Okay, so we're going to step it back to down dog, or you can go directly to plank, as the case indicates. Okay, and then we're lowering down. We're going to stay down once we get here, so come all the way down to the belly, and we're going to take ourselves through some locust pose. So again, we're going to use the hands in the cobra positions, but we're going to lift the legs this time instead. So hands nice and firm, press down, lift the legs and the upper body, coming on down, pull the hands back. So we're still drawing the elbows back to broaden the chest. Here we go, big lift, stretch back, coming down, slide the hands back, lift, stretch back, coming down, slide the hands back. We should be pretty close to the waist, and with the bottom of my hand won't touch the floor right now. But as I lift, it does. And you can also let go and reach back through your arms if you like. Last breath. Come on back down. Give yourself a little motion. Oh. All right. So we're going to flip ourselves over onto our back, scoot all the way to the right, maybe slightly off your mat. Bend your right knee, bring yourself all the way over onto your back, and then we're going to bring both the knees into the chest, curl the upper body up, and we're going to curl in and extend out, trying to keep the torso exactly the same. So not letting the shoulders fall down toward the floor. So if it's hard to hold your neck up, keep your hands behind your head, press your head back, curl up, so you've got the ab work, and then extend maybe just the legs, but maybe temporarily you can let go and then come back. You can also have the hands come down towards the heels and extend, if you can kind of maintain that with the neck muscles without a lot of struggle. Right on. So choosing for yourself. Try to keep your torso nice and steady. We're going to do 3 more. All right, bring your head either back down to the floor or put the hands behind and curling the shoulder blades up, press the head into the hands. So either of those 2 positions. If you put your head down, put your hands down closer to your hips. You can even slip them underneath. We're going to take the legs straight up, glue the heels together, spread the toes out. If it helps, you can squeeze a block between your shins. I find that useful. But we're going to lower down for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold it steady. Squeeze your side waist in. 2, 1, come on back. There we go. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, coming back. Lower. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. We got 2 more. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. Last round. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You got this. 2, 1. Come on back. Woo. Release your head if you're holding your head. Release your hips if you're holding your hips. Give yourself a little movement. Woo, I like that one. We're taking the right leg back over. And we're coming back. Maybe a little cobra. Taking it back to down dog, or you can wind up all the way up at the top of your mat and skip the down dog altogether. Oh. So the left leg's going up, bringing it straight down the middle, curl in. Take it back, see if you can go to your left elbow. Bring it back, come across towards the right elbow. Stretch it back, sink into that heel. Oh. Step it forward where it lands. Put your weight there. Bring your right foot up to meet it. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold if that's okay with your back. And come all the way up to standing. Give yourself a big stretch. Whew. We're going to take it back to mountain pose after taking a moment to shake everything. All right. So find in mountain pose. Taking a few moments just to see, does this mountain pose feel different than the one we did at the beginning? So the weight's going to go into the right leg. We're going to bring the left leg into some version of a tree. So it can be down low, closer to the ground, up on the calf muscle. Or you can skip all the way over your knee, bring it all the way up onto the thigh. And then we're going to try to give ourselves just the slightest of bends towards the left. Still trying to maintain that balance. Ooh, it's not easy. You fall, catch, and start it all over again. Ooh, we got 2 more breaths. Good, so we're going to pick up this left leg, step it back. This time we're going to come to a warrior 2 shape. So fiddling around until it feels like you like the position your hips have landed in. This front leg shouldn't collapse inward. If it does, you're trying to bully it with your hip probably, or you're just not working that inner thigh enough. So try both of those 2 things. Nice steady in the legs. Keep this leg lifting backwards. We're going to come back to reverse and over to side angle for a nice big stretch. Reverse and side angle. Oh, and reverse. Ooh, and side angle. So just going back and forth. Oh, 2 more. Oh, I love these Little Mermaid movements in general, but oh, I like them the best this way. All right. So we're going to straighten out the front leg and take ourselves into a triangle shape. Now, you can alternate a little bit between the side angle and the triangle a few times if you like. Just in an effort to sort of find the way into triangle that feels the best. Make sure the arms feel like they're connected to your upper back like a pair of wings. Feels like you're working from the core and not from the shoulder. In terms of positioning your arms. Like I don't want to put my arm back like that because that hyperextends and does some strange things to my shoulder. But here, my shoulders lined up with my torso, so it's just right. 2 more breaths. Now we're going to bend this knee, and we're going to bring ourselves around to the front far enough that it turns into kind of a half squat. So I'm turning my right toes in and feeling out the distance I might need to create. So I've got a little half squat. Some people can drop their hip really close to the heel here. Then we're going to float over to the other side. Again, adjust the legs so we can come to this little half squat. And we're just going to go back and forth. Little half squat. Ooh. Little half squat. And we're going to the other side. Alrighty. So one more time to the left, and then I'm going to come to the middle. Now, you might have your legs the right distance apart. You might have to heel toe them in a little bit. I like my toes turned mostly parallel, but just shy of that. You can decide whether yours should stay turned out. You'll know whether if the knee or the hip hurts and you turn the toes out and it stops, that you should turn your toes out. So if you can hang with the legs straight, do. You might need to lift yourself out of there a little bit to keep the legs straight. Just go for the most even stretch through the back of your thigh. Oh. Ooh. And then we're going to take ourselves around and we're going to step back into this mountain pose, but before we get there, we're going to do a little standing splits. So we're taking this left leg up, and I've got my hands right now, one on the block, one on the floor. You can let go all together and hold on to your standing leg, or leave your hands where you can support it and just lift that left leg as high as it wants to go. You can bend the right knee if needed. And then we're going to bring that knee in nice and tight. Put it down beside the right leg, come up halfway. Ooh, fold. If it's okay to fold, oh, come all the way to standing. Oh, give yourself a stretch, maybe a little shimmy. Ooh. And then we're going to take ourselves back to mountain pose. And now see if there's a difference in the way this mountain pose feels compared to the last one we did. Ooh. So for me, there's usually, when I do a bunch of things on one side, there's usually I can feel the difference in the hips or in my arms or in my legs. So we're going to take that tree pose again, shifting the weight to the left leg this time, choosing the tree pose that works for you, and then the barest little hint of a side bend to the right if it's available. Two more breaths. All right, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to pick up this leg, step back with the right foot into Warrior Two. And again, adjust once you're there. It shouldn't hurt your hips to stand in this position. If it does, you might need to realign your legs a little bit differently so that there's no pain or discomfort, and you can hold the legs nice and steady as we take these two movements. Oh, of the mermaid, coming back, oh, and over. Oh gosh, that's nice. So just work it with it. Last one, and again we're going to turn this into a triangle pose that you can, if it's preferred, you can sort of go from the side angle to the triangle a few times so that you can sort of come to a place where you feel where your triangle should land. And one side might be different than the other. Take in 2 more breaths. right, so we're gonna come out of here. Again, I'm gonna turn this left foot so that I've got a little bit of a squatting shape. Adjust in my right foot just a little bit. And then I'm gonna float through over to the right side and then over to the left side, just going back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my right side one more time, and then I'm going to come to the center one more time. We're going to do this wide angle forward bend. I'm going to wrap my arms up. You can lace your fingers together if you like. I'm just going to put one palm on top of each hip and lift my elbows up toward each other. Two more breaths here. All right, so as you're ready, we're going to turn this into our standing splits. So we're going to take ourselves over towards this left leg. And again, you can let go of the floor and hold on to your standing leg and see how that goes, or you can hold on to the floor and just find that sense of length. And then we're going to step back, this time into downward dog, or you can go right for your plank. And we're going to lower down. Come into your cobra. All right. Now, we're going to stretch the right arm up. Roll onto the right side so your head is supported. Hips are stacked on top, shoulders are stacked on top. And then you can take this arm and either put it on your hip, put it behind your ear, or more supported up front. So we're going to go right into the little butterflies. So we're going to bring the feet behind and lift them up. So there's a tendency for this hip to want to drop forward. We're going to try to keep it stacked up. Open the knees. Now that might be all that happens. You just pause there for a beat and then close. Or you can open, extend that top leg straight out, pull it back together, toes touch, knees touch. Okay? Nice and smooth like you're underwater. Four more. Okay, that's the last one, or you might have one more to go. So we're gonna take the legs and straighten them out. Now the bottom leg, the right leg, is gonna hang out there on the ground, and we're gonna internally rotate this top leg, your left leg. Try not to let your hip drop forward. Just see how far you can rotate inward. Then we're going to swing that leg forward, see if we can touch the ground. Swing it back, see if we can touch the ground, but maintain this internal rotation. I can't quite hit the ground in the back, but I can hit it in the front. So we're just going back and forth, trying to touch or maintain the internal rotation is the most important part. Okay, so just swinging back and forth, hold and steady with that internal rotation. Doesn't have to be a very big movement because it's quite interesting to try to hold that thigh inwardly rotated as you swing it back. Two more. Last one. Okay, coming back to the center. We're going to take that leg all the way across the top. You can put it out straight. You can bend the knee. You can put the foot on the ground. Just make sure your hip is still steady and they're not crinkling the hip in, so there's still length on the side waist. Reach out through your right leg and try to lift it off the floor a little bit. Now, that's the starting point. Then we're going to try to pulse it up a little bit by trying to squeeze up from the hip and the internal, like the hip flexor. So lifting up, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. See if you can get that deep belly going. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now hold steady right there. 10, 9, keep lifting. 7, 6, 5, 4, can you lift a little higher? 2, 1, coming on back down. So we're gonna roll ourselves back down to the belly. Oh, give it a couple of cobras here. Oh, if you like locust, better do that one. Oh. All right, so then you'd extend your left arm and roll onto your left side, unless like me, you've got a particular viewpoint you're trying to maintain, in which case, spin it around, yogis. Okay, hips on top, shoulders on top. Right leg is the working leg now. And so we're gonna bring the feet behind us. Again, notice, does your hip drop forward when you get your legs in place? Get that nice and stable, nice long side waist. Knees open, extend or hold steady, bring the toes together, bring the knees together. So we're going to do 4 more. All right, so that's my 4th one. So I'm going to bring everything back down. Again, I'm going to try to keep my hips nice and steady as I lift this leg and internally rotate the thigh bone, okay? So we're going forward, try to tap, backwards, try to tap, try to maintain nice stability through the torso, and also give yourself that opportunity to try to work with that internal rotation forward and back. And again, for me, sometimes I don't touch the ground on the backside. In order to do that, sometimes I have to externally rotate. So I'm just trying to maintain that internal rotation. This one's a little easier than the other side. 3 more, 2 more, last one. Oh. All right, so we're gonna bring that leg over the top. Oh, the bottom leg, this left leg is now gonna be the focus. So we're gonna lift the leg, hug in through the sides of the waist, and then we're pulsing upward from the hip flexor as best we can. Nice deep lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now hold it as high as you can. Hug steady. Right there. Lift through the inside of the side waist. Oh, feel yourself try to hold steady now. 9, 8, 7, 6. Lift a little higher. 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming on back down. Oh, we're going to roll onto our back, yogis. Oh. Snuggle your shoulder blades up underneath you. So we got 2 things to do. The first thing we're going to do, outside of these windshield wipers, is we're going to do a little bit of bridge work. So I'm going to do my favorite thing, which is, I call it riding the cosmic half pipe of space. So I take my toes off the floor because that lets my heels slide a little bit better. So you're going to get yourself snuggled in, lift the hips, and essentially we're just going to take the hips over to one side, slide down close to the ground on the other side, lift up. So lift, down, lift, down, lift. So it's like in snowboarding they have those half pipes where they kind of ski up one side, ski up the other side. That's the idea, but with the hips. So we're just going to kind of go down and up over one corner, down and over one corner, and you can let the toes kind of turn with you. So the image in my head is more snowboard than the actual movement in the hips, I'm sure, but I like the image. So we're going to go back and forth a couple more times. 1, 2, 3, and then just come on back to the middle. You can lower down. I like the way that makes my glutes work a little bit differently than some of the other versions that we do. All right. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, do I have enough energy for a boat pose? And if the answer is yes, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a boat pose, and then we'll do a little twist and relax, or happy baby and relax, whichever you prefer. If you don't have enough energy for a boat pose, don't do the boat pose. Just relax. So we're going to bring ourselves up. Because, putting the boat pose at the end does seem kind of mean. So grab the backs of your thighs, get yourself up here. And then, you know, it's Halloween time, so I like to do a little rowing. So we're rowing the river Styx. Now you can take your legs out all the way straight. If you want a little bit more movement, I'm just bringing mine in from this bent position as I row sideways. Okay. Now, you can go longer if you want to. It might feel nice to let yourself fold over your legs for a moment. Now, before we do our final relaxation, let me get this hair off my arm. We're going to do one more little kind of release. Now, I'm going to come back to the twist because I started there. But if you'd prefer, you could do like a happy baby, or you can do like a big long banana shape. That would be nice. So I started on my right side, so I'm going to start on my left side on this. Go round. Sometimes I like to come back to a pose at the end of a practice to see if anything has changed. So this is kind of that pose for today, which is to see, like, is there more of a sense of freedom? Am I exactly in the same place? Because that also happens. But you can kind of just gauge how the practice kind of unwinds and changes the body, or how stubborn the body can actually be in terms of these tight places. Well, that's often the lesson I learn. Despite all of my machinations, it has its own ideas. So 2 more breaths here. And then I'm just going to come to the middle. I'm going to do these little windshield wiper things again. And especially, I find like anything that just lets you sort of rinse or soften the areas where we were just stretching are really good. So if you were doing a banana, this might be good, or you might pull your knees in and give yourself a hug. Okay, so other side. When you feel like you're at that ready point. I'm just finding like there's a little bit less intensity. Like I don't feel the chest stretch as sharply as I did at the beginning. The hip is going over a little farther. Just a little less resistance for me right now, especially on this side, but that's normal. And there may be no difference at all, and that's all right too. What is in terms of our experience. We're just living our experience as it is, as it unfurls. So I'm going to do 2 more breaths. And then we're going to come back to the center, and this is the chance for our nervous system to really just relax. So when we do any movements, and yoga movements in particular, sort of focus on length, right? Creating space. And that sends a lot of sensory data to the brain, because most of the nerves that are sensory nerves in our body are actually in the fascia that wraps around the muscle and lives under the skin. So when we do things that stretch us or create a stretch sensation, we're sending lots and lots of data to the brain. So this pose is all about no data. We're trying to completely relax. so that the body can shift into that parasympathetic nervous system so we can digest food and we can repair brain cells and we can rest. So if you have the time, let yourself do this shape for a few minutes. And then if you need to go, just make sure you leave me a little note in the chat that you were here so I can count you. All right, yogis, take a moment, just notice your breath. Take a big breath all the way down to your tiptoes. Let go with a big wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch them out. Wiggle them again. Do some wrist and ankle action. And then stretch your whole body. Maybe give yourself a hug and a little back massage for the road. It's good to hug your favorite yogi every day. And then we're going to roll ourselves into a seated position one way or another. So thank you so much for joining me for some yoga Pilates fusion this morning. I'm grateful that you're here. There's probably a nice glow around me as I sit down here in the sun. Hopefully the sun's at your house too. Take a nice big breath. Big sigh. Namaste, yogis.